Hello everyone, my name is Alexis Bergman, and the topic I've chosen to share with you guys today is a critter I call a rough-skinned newt. And the reason I chose this critter is because it lives in my town and I see it quite often around this time of year. Behind me you can see a pond. Now this is their common habitat space during their mating season and summer. And when it gets to about fall and winter, when it gets cold, they like to start migrating from the pond and they'll end up going to the forest. But first, I wanted to just share with you all that during the next several minutes, I'm going to share with you guys 4 cool things about rough-skinned newts: their poisonous appearance, their life stages, their semi-aquatic lifestyle, and last but not least, their fascinating and unique predator-prey relationship that they have with a garter snake. Welcome back, you guys. So what I want to start talking about first is the rough-skinned newt's poisonous appearance. Now at first glance, they look as though they're camouflaged. They have like a brown top from their head to tail, but underneath they have a bright orange underside. I like to kind of think of it like a bright orange traffic cone you may see when there's construction on the road. It's like that. You know it's a warning sign, and when you see it, you know to be cautious. So, with that being said, I wanted to share that we don't have to worry about it poisoning us when we are looking at it, or even if we want to hold it. I've held many rough-skinned newts before. What we have to be aware of is that their toxin is within their body, and so if we ingest or consume the rough-skinned newt, then that would be very fatal to us humans, and we would have to go to the hospital immediately. But that's just on the extreme side. They're a pretty friendly going creature, if you ask me. And that leads us to our next quality I'm going to talk about out of the 4, which is their unique predator and prey relationship with the garter snake. Now, here in my area that I live in, the rough-skinned newts, no one really wants to eat them. They're pretty poisonous, and a lot of the predators out here will be alarmed. But the garter snake has actually grown to have resistance towards the rough-skinned newt's poison, which is pretty neat to think about. So they can consume them with no problem. Alrighty, the next thing I'd like to share is about a rough-skinned newt's semi-aquatic lifestyle. Now what's so unique about this critter is that it can live both in the water, like this pond behind me, and they also live on land. And I've kind of mentioned that a little bit in my intro, but I love to talk a little more in depth about it right now. As I mentioned before, during the mating seasons, rough-skinned newts will live in the water. And in ponds usually you can find them. You can find them in creeks too. But that's where they'll find their mate and they'll lay their eggs. And during the colder seasons, like right now during fall, they'll migrate into the forests and they'll find a nice place to rest during the cold season. It's pretty cool because not all salamanders can do that. So that just makes this one a bit special. I like everyone to try to think about themselves and during each season. Think about the fall, winter, spring, and summer. In Oregon, at least where I live in Oregon, we have distinct seasons. So we have some cold ones and we have some hot ones. And with that being said, I want you to think about how you might move location. How some people, they will leave from somewhere really cold to go somewhere very warm. Like someone who doesn't really like the cold season in Oregon might leave and go somewhere like Arizona or even further south. So us humans, we don't have to change location like the rough-skinned newts do for survival, but it is something that we do, and it kind of helps us think about why rough-skinned newts would like to leave their location from time to time. The last thing I like to share with everyone about rough-skinned newts is about their fascinating life stages. Now rough-skinned newts, they go through 4 life stages, just like any salamander. They have their egg stage, and then when they hatch out of that, they go into their larva stage, and then their juvenile stage, and lastly, their adult stage. So what's really cool about that, you guys, is that they have to stay in the water for their egg, larva, and juvenile stage. They don't develop the necessary body parts to go outside of the water until they're adults. So the only ones that you'll find in the forest are the adult rough-skinned newts. So let's compare it to the human life cycle and human life stages. So for example, when humans are born, we're babies, we're in our baby stage. And then later on we become toddlers and we go through our childhood phases, and then we get into our teenage years in our third phase. And lastly, we are adults. So we can compare how rough-skinned newts' life stages are similar to humans, although of course there are differences. So we have now reached the end of our time together, you guys. So I just want to thank you for listening to my little chat about rough-skinned newts. And I just wanted to review the 4 things that we talked about. We talked about first their poisonous appearance and how that affects us humans too, but only if we ingest them. So don't you fear if you do see one walking around, okay? And next we talked about their unique predator-prey relationship with the garter snakes. And third, we talked about their semi-aquatic lifestyle, a reminder that's when they can be both in the pond and the water environment, and then they can switch onto land later. And lastly, we got to talk about their life stages and compare it to human life stages. And if you ever get to see the rough-skinned newt in person, what a treat. They're pretty cool critters. And I hope that you took away something from this. I'll see you next time.